Good afternoon. The Cuyahoga County Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. Will please come to order. It is now just past 3 o'clock, and I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Good afternoon, everyone. As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Also, as a reminder to all meeting attendees seeking parking validation for today's meeting, please be sure to scan the QR code located on the back table near the chamber's entrance to claim your discount. If you do not already have a Metropolis account, you will need your license plate number to set up the account in advance of receiving your discount. Please be sure to complete this prior to the end of today's meeting, as the QR code will be removed at the conclusion of this meeting. Calling the roll, Mr. Schlepper.
Here.
Ms. Conwell. Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones is absent at the moment. Ms. Turner.
Present.
Mr. Hauser is absent at the moment. Ms. Simon is absent at the moment. Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Mr. Castleberry.
Here.
Mr. Gallagher. Council President Miller.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Has anybody signed in?
No public comment has been received.
Thank you very much. And we have one legislative matter referred to committee, and I would ask that it now be read into the record.
Resolution 2025-0321, authorizing an amendment to a contract with Alliant Insurance Services, Inc. for insurance brokerage and risk management services for the period January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2025, to extend the term to December 31st, 2026, to amend various terms, and to add funds in the amount of $2,256,483 for a total amount not to exceed $9,279,423, effective upon signatures of all parties.
Thank you very much. And we have a substitute, and the substitute merely replaces the estimated values on the insurance coverages with the actual values that have now been received, and actually lowers the projected cost of the contract by a little bit over $100,000. I would ask if there's a motion to accept the substitute.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the substitute. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The substitute is accepted and is now the version before the committee, and I would call upon Awataf Assad to present the item.
Good afternoon, Councilman President and council members. I'm Awataf Assad. I am here on behalf of the Law Department's Risk Management Division. Joining me this afternoon is our broker's representative, Shane Story. He is the Vice President of Alliance Insurance Service Public Entity Group. Alliant has been a great partner for the county. It represents over 10,000 public entities, including the state of Ohio. We are here today on a second amendment to extend the county's contract with Alliant through the end of 2026 to renew our current insurance policies. This matter is very routine and straightforward. We have previously provided you with a list of the county's current policies and projected premiums for the renewals, and we're here to answer any of your questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments? So this is just the normal renewal of the various risk coverages that we carry and the fee for the broker that coordinates this process. Hearing no questions or comments, is there a motion to refer the resolution to the full council for second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolution is referred. It will be read for the second time at the council meeting this evening and be up for final passage on December 9th.
Thank you very much for your consideration, and have a nice Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a presentation, and I would like to call upon Treasurer Brad Cromes to give us an update on the Taxpayer Assistance Program.
Mr. President, members of council, pleasure to be with you this afternoon. My name is Brad Cromes, and I am the county treasurer. And it is my pleasure this afternoon to present an update on our taxpayer assistance program. As you all recall, when we first came to you to present this idea, we pledged at that time to provide quarterly updates. So that's what this one is. And because this is the conclusion of the quarter of our first year of the program, it also is a retrospective of the first year. And I'll share with you some plans we have for year 2 of our pilot. So having said that, I think we've got it there. That's great. Just as a quick refresher on the initial budget for the program, this is a DTAC-funded initiative, which means it is general revenue fund neutral. It is a 2-year pilot. It was envisioned to run December of last year through November of 26, with a proposed budget of a total of $5 million, $2.5 million in each of the pilot program years. $2 million of that was earmarked for direct taxpayer assistance, and another $500,000 for housing counseling services and program administration. So that's what's showing here. We are still waiting on final figures from CHN for year 1 administration of the program, but we anticipate that their costs, when we're done with analysis of that, will run very close to the $408,000 that they initially budgeted when we presented previously. So just as a reminder, the Taxpayer Assistance Program is an initiative of our office that seeks to respond to the increase in property tax valuations that people are experiencing in our county and across the state of Ohio. This is a Cuyahoga County specific initiative that makes up to $10,000 available in one-time assistance to taxpayers who in the first year of the program were over age 70, had an income of $70,000 or less, and were already certified tax delinquent. Folks who were in that category then, we made an effort to reach out to individually with a mailer. We identified around 4,000 people that we thought might be eligible for the program in year 1, did a direct mailing, and we also did a good amount of earned media and social media follow-up to get the word out about the program. So that was our initial outreach effort. The administration of that program was through a partner. We chose CHN Housing Partners for that process because they had administered a very similar program during COVID. It was state dollars funneled through the Ohio Housing Finance Agency in that case, and so we elected to go with them as our program administrator for year 1. Applications were processed by CHN on a first-come, first-served basis and had to be made online through the online portal. Applicants were required to provide a parcel ID, contact information, and demographic information, including proof of residency and proof of income. They contacted applicants who applied, and those folks were routed then to a HUD-certified housing counselor for an initial consultation. If that counselor, in reviewing the application, felt that that resident met the goals of the program and was qualified and able to sustain a long-term budget, they were routed to us for approval and inclusion in the program. So what makes this program unique is that it was not meant to be a one-time, one-conversation situation. They were going to have ongoing counseling services with at least 3 touch points that would require the taxpayer to create an action plan, and then they could be referred after that point to further services. We based our initial distribution on this chart, which I recognize is an eye test, but we chose to allocate the initial $2 million by district as the pool within those districts by relative delinquency. So the low figure was $46,000 in District 1, and we had a high figure in District 7 of $368,000 as the initial pool. If we reached those thresholds, we were going to create a hardest hit fund reserve and roll whatever wasn't allocated into that pot to be redistributed to folks who had applied. As I'll go through in just a moment, we didn't need to do that. We didn't reach the threshold in any of our districts. This next map shows applications received by district. Again, with a low of 10 in District 1, we had a high of 72 in District 8. So you have been provided copies of this presentation, I believe. I know it got in a little bit late, but I'm happy to share the district-by-district breakouts with everybody at the conclusion of today's presentation so you can see what those applications look like in each of your districts. From that then, we have our approved and dispersed figures. We had some distribution in each and every district within the county. Again, a low in District 1 of 5. Total taxpayers approved, and a high in District 10 of 31. The distributions within the districts ranged from $2,878 in District 1 to a high of $191,000 in District 10. And again, that was based variable on the basis of the need of the applicant, and again, up to $10,000 for each individual. So that breaks out this way more broadly. All told, we received 615 total applications or inquiries. Of those, 150 were approved in year 1. We had an amount allocated and approved anticipated of $974,000. As of this point, the county has received back from CHN $798,000. With local penalties being abated. This was one of the things we tried to do to save as much of that pool as possible for direct assistance. So we made an agreement with the Real Property Division to abate penalties and interest and to resolve foreclosure costs. So our penalties abated amounted to $64,000 and change, and the foreclosure costs resolved were around $13,000. We also had 47 of those 150 that were approved that required a payment plan, so the $10,000 was not sufficient to resolve their delinquency, but the counselors and our staff felt that those folks had demonstrated enough financial wherewithal and had committed to a plan to be on a payment plan going forward with us. As of this date, we have not had any defaults within the program. We had a few missed payments from folks who were signed up for our prepay program. And again, that was a requirement of the program that for prospective taxes, they sign up to have that withdrawn monthly. We had a couple of those folks who missed a payment, but we have been able to resolve that and catch them back up. That is where we are now. You see at the bottom of this slide, we had 16 folks who, unfortunately, after a review, were deemed to have insufficient income to support inclusion in the program. We routed those folks to other services in the community, other service providers who may be able to help them find a more sustainable long-term housing situation. And then we had 36 of our applicants who, for whatever reason, got through the process and then declined assistance. So as you see, those numbers don't quite add up to 615, excuse me. We did have rejected applications, the majority of which were rejected because they were not yet certified as tax delinquent. Again, that process takes a full collection cycle before folks can be certified as tax delinquent. We anticipate that the vast majority of those will be, I don't say we anticipate, we are contacting all of those folks who have subsequently become certified to make them aware again of the existence of the program. Other reasons for rejection included missing documentation because they weren't able to meet the standards that were required by the CHN administration of the program for demographic data, income proof, et cetera. And then the third highest application rejection category would be our folks who were not yet age 70. So, challenges in year 1. We had a little bit slower than anticipated initial launch. It took us until January of 2025 to get the program up and running and on its feet. So that was a little bit of a delay for us. We also had longer than anticipated wait times. The first distributions that were made were not made until April. And we had a number of folks who were on those lists for a significant period of time during the course of 2025, which you can see in some of our unresolved application figures, what I'll show you shortly. We also had some challenges with CHN with respect to data sharing and access to their systems due to privacy concerns on their side and their software. We had a little bit of a difficulty getting that communication channel open. As a result of some of those delays, we had crossing payment amounts. So applicants were approved for amount A. In the intervening period, additional penalties and interest accrued or additional tax bills accrued. And so those had to be adjusted, which further delayed the applicant's approval. Once applicants were approved, we did have some challenges with respect to receiving payment. The way the program was structured is we advanced CHN the funding, and then they were to get that back to us when the applicant was approved. Again, those systems issues created delays on that side. So those were the administrative issues that we found. In terms of the application issues that we discovered, a number of folks reported to us that the online-only format for the application presented a difficulty. These are seniors, often low income. So we had a number of folks who had a hard time getting through the application process or getting access to the application process. Providing the granular level of data required by CHN for participation as a HUD-certified agency provided some issues as well, getting those applications completed. And then lastly, our application pool was limited because, again, we were only looking at folks who were over age 70, making less than $70,000. So in reviewing performance in year one, my staff and I discussed how we might improve the program in the second year of the pilot. It's our belief that expanding the applicant pool would make more folks eligible for participation. So we believe that that's important to do. We also believe it's important to allow people to apply for the program in person, whether that is at our delinquent tax outreach events or at the treasurer's office or in some other in-person way. We feel that we can better leverage our existing counseling relationships with entities other than CHN, so including Community Housing Solutions, Benjamin Rose, and others, to expand and increase the speed with which we are able to process applications. We also believe that we are able, if we adjust the system, to streamline the payments processes so that we're not doing an advance and then waiting on applications to be completed to get the money back and getting, more importantly, onto people's tax bills. We believe that there are synergies between this program and what we are launching in the first quarter of next year through the Financial Empowerment Center, which I've presented to you all about in the past. And lastly, we believe that we could realize some administrative cost savings if we adjust our approach to the program a little bit in year two. So with all those things in mind, we approached CHN Housing Partners in October, shared these concerns with them, and made the decision to end the agreement for their administration of the program effective October 31st. We are now in a transition period for implementing some of these program changes for applicants that are submitting interest now and then applying as of January 1st, with an eye to having them fully implemented in the field January 1. So having said that, that's the changes we're planning to implement. I've got a little bit more about that in a moment. But just to kind of close the loop on the data from last year, these are our outstanding active applications. We do have a number of them, and they are, again, in every district of the county. Again, the low being in District 1, the high being in District 10. So we're working through those right now. This next slide shows some of that. Since we have made some shifts in our website and the way that people can inquire as to the program, on October 31st, we've received 157 new inquiries. Actually, that data is old. It's over 300 now. So we've received over 300 inquiries from folks who are interested in participating. You see that there's a remainder there of $266,000 that we're going to be processing internally in the weeks ahead to catch us up to that full figure of amounts that were approved in 2025. And we have, as of this date, already transmitted a roughly $99,000 there as well. So Having said all of that, year 2 structure changes are highlighted on this slide. They're circled in red. As I'd mentioned, we want to expand the applicant pool in discussing with our staff, the fiscal office staff, and the homestead staff. We came to the conclusion that using 67 would be the correct threshold. That ties out to distribution dates that are required for other vehicles for people who are in this cohort. So we think that number is one that people are going to understand and grasp very quickly. And then the other thing on the bottom that's circled there is that payments are being made directly to Cuyahoga County from Cuyahoga County. The way that that's going to work is that these are, again, summary of changes, but folks, as I mentioned before, can now apply online or in person. Applicants to apply need only provide their contact information and answer some qualifying questions. We are no longer requiring folks to provide demographic data or proof of income. That's because our partners in the Homestead office are already gathering that information, and as part of this program, these people are presumptively qualified for Homestead in many cases, so they are doing an analysis on that point, and as part of their analysis, they are already doing an income analysis. So we're streamlining a little bit there to take advantage of in-house expertise. Payments are being made real time by a ledger adjustment and applied directly to our taxpayer reports. So once someone is approved, we can do a journal entry to transfer that amount directly onto their tax bill without having to go through this additional approval process, which again, we think will speed things along. We have asked our counseling partners that are under contract with us to assist us with the provision of the counseling services themselves, and we're administering the program with existing staff. So with me today is Dr. Victoria Berry from our Delinquent Tax Outreach team. She and her assistants in the Delinquent Tax Outreach office are going to be managing the initial application process and the vetting piece, forwarding those onto the housing counselors, and then once someone has applied, my staff in the treasurer's office on the taxpayer services side will take over with getting people all the way through the program. The front door for that, as I'd mentioned before, we're going to be opening the Financial Empowerment Center on the first floor of this building in the first quarter of next year. That will be the physical footprint for folks to come in and make an application in the building. They can also do it through our office, and as I'd mentioned before, at any event where we're doing outreach. And we anticipate that making those changes will help us save roughly $250,000 in administrative costs over outside administration of the program. So the remainder of what I've got here is just some information for you in terms of where folks can find this program. The Taxpayer Assistance Program application is now housed entirely on the Treasurer's Office website. There's the call-out box on the right-hand column there where folks can apply. When they do that, they are being directed to this in-house inquiry form. This is, again, as I'd mentioned before, much simpler. It is name, contact information, parcel number, and some demographic questions. And then in terms of where we plan to go in the coming year, it's our plan to continue implementing and marketing these expanded parameters. We've already done some outreach on that count through some press hits and shared some information to the public about that, which has resulted in that spike in inquiries over the past month or so. We'll begin processing those new inquiries in January after we've completed processing existing inquiries, and then we'll continue seeking outside funding because, as we'd mentioned at the outset, the 2-year pilot of this being simply funded by DTAC was meant to be a beginning, and it's our intention to ask our banking partners and others in the community to participate. We think that we have a good story to tell here. As I'd mentioned, we've helped roughly 150 folks through this program. We've distributed about $1 million. They are staying current. We are finding that the counseling is doing what we anticipated that it would do, which is help people maintain their payments and stay in their homes. So that's the effort that we intend to make in the coming year. And with that, I appreciate your patience in letting me get through all of that. Happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Treasurer Kromas, for the presentation, and I would turn to my colleagues for questions, and starting with Councilman Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Treasurer, so going back very early on in your slides, the data sharing and system access challenges that you had and the delays, whose side was that on?
Through the chair to the councilman, I think it was a product of some reluctance by CHN because of the nature of their work and the privacy concerns that they have around who their served clients are. There was some concern that sharing databases, direct database access, or even information via email could potentially expose them to some liability should something be exposed. I recognize that we have certain, controls, but that was the hurdle, the fact that it was private, personally identifiable information, and we're subject to open records rules. I think some of those things were the genesis of that.
Okay, if I may, then, so CHN is or isn't still involved?
Through the chair to the councilman, CHN is still a counseling partner for us, so we can make referrals to them for doing the counseling portion of this, but they will no longer be administering the program itself. We're bringing that in-house.
Okay, so then my last question on that would be, if I may, is how much has that cost us to go from the part where they're doing pretty much everything to just this part?
Through the chair to the councilman, the only cost that should be associated with that change from our side would be staff time. So de minimis additional cost. We've just kind of reassigned existing resources to take care of that transition.
Okay, thank you.
And for the record, Councilman Hauser is now in attendance, and Councilman Sweeney is next, followed by Conwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Treasurer, how are you?
Well, councilman, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I just have a couple. With the penalty and interest, right? When I've always talked with my constituents, hey, they're a little bit behind, this is the story, and penalty interest came up. One of the two was not allowed to be eliminated by state statute. And I think, which one is that?
Through the chair to the councilman, I think what you're referring to, there's specific statutory language around the remission of penalties.
Yeah.
Interest charges are ours as the county, and I think we have discretion to eliminate or waive those in special cases with the agreement of myself and the auditor's office side of the equation, so the other part of the fiscal
No,
office.
absolutely. And I've experienced it when a situation presents itself that is something that makes sense. And the way the county government works, if we can help somebody, we will, without going off the rails. And my folks have experienced that. It's rare, but it does happen. But if it's state statute and penalty, you just mentioned that you relieve the penalties.
We relieved penalties and interest charges.
How can we do that with the state statute? Because you tell me it can't be done.
My understand, through the chair to the council, my understanding is that the interest charges are at our election
Yeah.
as the treasurer and with approval of the auditor to waive those where we can. And in this case, we would be charging ourselves interest effectively on whatever payments we're making. So to preserve, the pool to the extent possible, we made that choice.
Absolutely, because I'm just stuck on the penalties, because for the 30 years I've been doing this, when somebody asks, we can help with the interest, but we can't help on the penalties because it's state statute. And through the chair, you mentioned that we are relieving both penalties and interest, so I'm just a little bit confused.
Yeah.
So we're removing penalty and interest.
Ma'am, if you could stop.
Dr. Barry's coming to the podium to share a
I
little
was going to
bit
have her come
more
up
flavor
anyways,
on
but
that.
I'm
Yeah,
glad
go
she.
ahead.
Hi.
Hi, Dr. Barry.
So the penalties and interest that we're removing
for the
are
record-
only those that have accrued from the time that they have, oh, I'm sorry. Hi,
For the
I'm
record-
Victoria Berry. I'm with the Treasurer's Office, and I'm going to be helping to administer the Taxpayer Assistance Program. And the interest and penalty that we're removing are only those that have been assessed from the time that the applicant has applied till the time that we've been able to process their application. As Treasurer Cromas mentioned, we have applicants that may have applied in January, and it was taking until August or September to get them processed. So there was a very long time between application and process, and the decision was made and approved with our fiscal officer that we were going to abate those penalties and interest that accrued during that wait time.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Barry. So to just restate a little bit,
I got that perfectly.
so yeah.
Her smile is so disarming, it's not even funny.
Yeah, if I can just restate a
please.
little bit of that. So, the way we've interpreted that statute is that if the auditor's side and the treasurer's office agree, we can waive interest. Penalties have always been abatable by the completion and acceptance of a penalty remission request form. So that's the one that's always been accepted, is the
Got it.
penalty. The interest is the extra piece that we've
And
added.
I knew one of the two.
Yeah.
Now I have a very specific, but it's different. And when you hear penalty and interest has been removed, my thought immediately was from the get-go, because that's a significant dollar. Now I have a different clarification. But I'm still stuck on, all these years, interest was never allowed to be eliminated. But now you're telling me the state statute reads through the chair, as long as we have concurrence with the treasurer and the fiscal director, we can do it.
Through the chair to the councilman, that is our understanding and interpretation of the statute, yes.
I'm going to go with your understanding. Is it the real thing, though? And I know it is. We have to, Marty, that's exactly how it is by state statute. Is that
Through the
for
chair to the
anything I can-
councilman, as an attorney, I'm not versed in speaking in declarative statements, but that's our understanding of how the statute works.
I am not a lawyer, and you keep saying understanding, and I want you to say that's the absolute fact, because that's how the Ohio Revised Code reads.
That is the way that we read the Ohio Revised Code, yes.
Thank you. I'm still, for 30 years, I was misguided, because there was a trigger to be able to do that. So thank you very much. And the other one is the 250,000, you said you'd be in savings? Is that after 3 years, the first year, every year from this point forward, or 5 years? How'd you get the 250, and how is it?
Yeah, through the chair to the councilman, that was our, we arrived at that figure by looking at what CHN's housing counseling and administration costs were versus what we think we can do using our existing staff capacity and our existing housing counseling agreements that are separate from this.
So it's a one-time
So one time in the
amount,
second year
now
of
it's
the
in?
pilot, that's
We're
right.
good.
Yeah.
And then just with the $70,000, we're going to be doing this for a long time, right? And
That's the hope, yeah.
Are we going to put that compounding thing in, like CPI connected, so it's 72,000 and 74,000? Because as time goes on, if we don't have something like that in there, we always get caught up in 10 years from now saying we never did it. So that's just a thought. And when, the last one is the community partners that you're asking, what dollar amount are you kind of hoping for would be? Because it's a good one, we put some upfront money, but now it's, and I believe they're going to do it, but I'm just wondering, to match what we currently have, get as much as we can, or what dollar amount would you?
Through the chair to the councilman, ideally, it would be a match. If we could get that from one person, that would be great and we'd be done, but we are asking multiple partners. In part, in relation to our existing agreements with our banking partners for CRA, we view this as very much aligned with community reinvestment work.
perfect.
So we're trying to make asks in light of that. And with respect to chaining CPI, this is a pilot. We're going to be looking again at where those thresholds are, and if income remains a barrier, then I think we'd have to revisit that, yeah.
Through the chair, I can't thank you enough for putting up with me on my questions. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, thank you.
So for the record, Councilwoman Simon is now in attendance. Vice President Conwell is next, followed by Schlepper.
Thank you. Through the chair to Treasurer Cromas, on your slide, Taxpayer Assistance Program Year 2 Opportunities, you discuss leverage existing counseling relationships. My question is, how are the counseling relationships determined?
Through the chair to the councilwoman, those relationships exist under a different contract. I think it's $100,000, right? That we've allocated to, for a number of years now, to various agencies to do housing counseling services related to our delinquent tax work. That's an RFP process. I believe that runs through September of next year, our existing agreement. And there are a handful of entities that are doing that. I mentioned a couple, Community Housing Solutions, CHN, Benjamin Rose, there are a couple others, but those are where those are coming from.
So those are the ones that we're already in contract with?
Yes, ma'am, that's
For
right.
those services? Okay, so you bid them out, or they went to Board of Control?
That's
some
right.
kind of way. Okay. And then my other question would be on the Taxpayer Assistance Program, Year 2 structure changes. So down at the bottom, it says payments will be made directly to Cuyahoga County. What were the problems with the payments not coming directly to us?
Yeah, through the chair to the council, I mean, it was reconciliation, and largely, we think it was driven by some of those delays that we spoke about. Again, as that application sat, taxes came due, new penalties and interest were applied, so we had to restructure the ask and then send that all the way back through the paperwork. So it's those sorts of things that caused the delays, and we had to have an agreement on what those figures were before we could process and post. So eliminating that step and letting it be a ledger adjustment, we think is going to significantly speed up that part of the process.
Okay, and I just want to flip back to the Taxpayer Assistance Program through the chair. You talked about a total amount that was received back from CHN. I don't think I kind of fully understand that. Why were we getting money back? I'm not.
Through the chair to the councilwoman, we made the decision, again, kind of based on what the OFA program was during COVID, that having them have the pool of funds and then distribute that back to the county was the right way to do that. In kind of our postmortems and reviews of those things, we determined that that was unnecessary to do, and again, it was causing delays. So rather than do that, we chose to go in this other
So
direction.
initially, they had the DTAC funds.
We transferred in advance to them of some DTAC funds, that's right. Mhm.
Okay. And then just I guess, a statement for the last, through the chair, the last page, Taxpayer Assistance Program Next Steps. And I was just thinking about something prevention. So you speak about marketing and things like that. Has it been thought to just put a statement into the notices for the taxpayer bills that are delinquent? You know, like the new tax bills are going out, and those that fit into that window, just to put a notice in there so it'll be early marketing. I mean, we're already sending the.
Yeah, through the chair of the councilman, that's a great idea. And I do think that we included that as one of our insert items in the first half of last year. One of the issues we're running into is that our tax bill insert, there's a lot of stuff we want to say. We feel we need to tell people what their rate adjustments are. There are some statutory changes for next year's tax bills that we have to include this time. So I'm still working through with the communications team how we do that in a way that's going to be intelligible, but that's certainly something that's on our radar.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Schleifer.
Thank you. Through the chair, hello, Mr. Treasurer. How are you?
I'm well, Councilman. How are you?
Great. Good to see you.
You too.
I wanted to start by commending you for the expansion of this program and moving that age requirement down from 70 to 67. I think that's an exceptional move in the right direction. You and I chatted, of course, about tenants associated with this, so thank you for that move. I think that's going to provide a lot of relief to a lot of folks. I have two questions then on that Taxpayer Assistance Program Year 2 structure changes. The first question that I have is in that right column, you know, where the $10,000 may be used. I noticed the payment of foreclosure fees and court costs related to a pre-existing foreclosure. Would that be a foreclosure that would happen because someone was unable to pay their delinquent taxes? Is that?
Yeah, through the chair to the councilman, that's correct. Those foreclosure costs are our foreclosures, or tax foreclosure costs charged by the court.
All right, so essentially in doing that, it would be if the result was not that someone was able to keep their home, we would at least relieve them of those additional costs as they move forward into the next steps. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that piece. The other component that I was curious about was when you, in that left column about participation in counseling services, a budget, ongoing ability to pay, could you just share a little bit about what that looks like? What does a counseling session look like? What does housing counseling services mean? If you could just kind of clarify some of that language.
Certainly, I'd be happy to. Through the chair to the councilman, it varies. This is one of those fact-specific kind of things, but generally speaking, that initial intake appointment includes asking people for what their incomes look like, what their existing expenses are. The counselor sits down with them and kind of goes through that to verify all of those things. They match those two up and see is there any space in that budget. If there's not, then the conversation becomes, are there things that are in the budget that don't need to be in the budget? So it's a holistic look kind of at financial condition. And ideally, they emerge from that with a plan that's actionable and workable. It's not just a paper plan, it's something they can actually work through. So I think that we spend an hour-ish, 90 minutes. Yeah, 90 minutes, that's what I thought. 90 minutes on that initial session. And then they have subsequent sessions to do check-ins and see how folks are doing to perform on those.
Fantastic. And then my last question through the chair, if I may. When you mentioned verification in these counseling sessions. So is there an opportunity, let's say that this is a senior and their own income falls below that threshold, but let's say they have a adult child that's living with them or a relative that lives with them that could also contribute. So let's say they fall well below. Could someone else's income that lives in the household also be a part of that equation to, essentially get them up to speed? Could they claim someone else's income if that party is willing to do so?
Through the chair to the councilman, we've had conversations with applicants who are in a position where they have outside income streams like that can be counted. So we typically try to have those conversations as part of the counseling services. They should not be in the household because the threshold is household income, 70,000 or less. But we are working with people on that conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Hauser.
Through the chair to the speaker, I want to echo Councilman Schlepper's word. I love this program. I'm glad that you guys decided to expand the age from 70 to 67. I know we've had conversations, so I'm glad we decided to do that. I'm glad we held off on the tax lien sale. I'm also ecstatic to hear you guys are doing in-person applications now, especially with our seniors who many are computer literate. I think that's going to be helpful. My only question is around the community partners. I know you mentioned the 5 you already spoke of. How's your relationship with other community partners? I'm thinking we have a lot of community meetings across the county, the libraries. How's your relationship with that? And my follow-up is, if every person who qualifies for this program did apply, will we have the capacity? Like, is it the more the merrier, or is it if we got everybody, it might be too much?
Through the chair to the councilman, I'll try to address all those, and if I miss one, let me know. In terms of the community partner relationships, this is actually where there's a lot of synergy with what we're doing on the Financial Empowerment Center. That effort required us to build a board, an advisory board, to kind of steer our work in that area. That group has 15 members. That includes some banks, but also I'm going to miss a ton of them, but the library system, the United Way, the CNP is on that board, I believe. There's just a ton of other organizations in the community that are part of that on that advisory board. There's an additional list of about 20 service provision partners that we've built out that are referral partners for us for the Financial Empowerment Center. So in terms of shared services, there's a real nexus there with what the Financial Empowerment Center is doing. And longer term, when this pilot project ends, it's very likely that this project will land in the Financial Empowerment Center as a service of that Financial Empowerment Center. That's kind of where we're headed with that. So that's kind of the nature of that piece, I think. With respect to the question you asked about, is it a more the merrier program if everybody applied? At this point, we certainly want everybody who's eligible to apply. We have not yet reached the point where we don't have funds. That kind of would be not a good problem to have. But from perspective of the program, that would be a good thing for us to be able to show need, to go to our partners and say, look, there's need and there's more than we can handle. We need you to contribute. But we have not reached that threshold yet.
Sounds good. Thank you for your work.
On that point, Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Sweeney.
Thank you. Just on the point of, if you do reach that threshold, will it be first come, first serve? One has the most need. How would you handle that situation if you got
Through the
into
chair
it?
to the councilman, at this point, it's first come, first served. We could revisit that in the future. But for the purposes of the pilot, it's first come, first served.
So right now, if there is a rush and it's just by the date you get it stamped and being processed. Thank you very much.
That's right, yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Through the
Councilwoman Turner,
Thank
followed
you.
by Councilman.
through the chair, no questions. I just wanted to thank the treasurer, Dr. Berry, for all the work that they've been doing. I know that you have heard from many of our colleagues about this program. I'm glad to see the real-time changes and efficiencies. So we'll look forward to the next update to see how that's working. But I also want to thank you for our monthly touch bases. I'm learning a lot, getting to know you better. And I want to thank you for the time that you spent with me and the young lady who was visiting through the state's International Professionals Program last week. We continue to be in touch, and she talked in depth about just how transformative the meeting was with you both. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Happy to do it. And just conclusory remarks a little bit with respect to this program and where we are with our peers. To the best of my knowledge, Cuyahoga County is the only county in the state that's dedicating its own dollars to this effort. There's a similar effort in Cincinnati where the city of Cincinnati has dedicated a little bit of money to do this work. But I'm proud of the work that Dr. Berry has done to administer this. I think that we're pointed in the right direction, and I am hopeful that this is something that we can sustain longer term.
Councilwoman Conwell.
Thank you. Through the chair to Treasurer Cromes. What is the nature of the county residents or some of the examples of why they were denied for the program?
Through the chair to the councilwoman, and we can provide a breakdown of that for you after the meeting today. But generally speaking, as I'd mentioned, the highest category was that they weren't yet certified, so they were late but not yet delinquent in an actionable way. We had missing documentation, as I kind of mentioned. The CHN form required a lot of information, and then not reaching the age of 70. So we think dropping that threshold to 67 will open the door to some of those folks, and we're going to be reaching out to the pool of folks who were denied to make them aware of that change.
Okay, so they weren't certified tax delinquent?
Right. The vast majority that were, or the highest category, I should say, that were denied were not yet certified.
So in the next round going forward, would you, since they had already reached out, and most of them weren't certified tax delinquent, would you give them first come, first serve kind of top priority?
Their application date would be considered the day they applied, yeah.
They'd have to reapply?
No. Their application is still active. It's just that they're now newly qualified, and we are doing that outreach right now.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Thank you very much, and we look forward to your efforts in continuing to help taxpayers in need in 2026.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All meetings of the Cuyahoga County Council are open to the public under the Ohio Open Meetings laws. Under that law, council may go into executive session during a meeting for specifically authorized purposes. During executive session, council confers outside the hearing of the public. Council may not make any decisions about any matters in executive session. All decisions are made in public. This afternoon, the council will go into executive session for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining matters and pending or imminent court action. During this time, our live stream will be down, and we ask all those not specifically needed for the executive session to remain in council chambers. Council members will convene in the adjacent Committee Room A and will re-enter the meeting once the executive session has ended. Is there a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining matters and pending or imminent court action?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session for the stated purposes. This requires a roll call.
Mr. Schlepper? Ms. Conwell? Mr. Jones? Mr. Jones is absent. Ms. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Hauser?
Yes.
Ms. Simon? Ms. Simon is away from the dais at the moment. Mr. Kelly?
Here.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Castleberry?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher? Council President Miller?
Yes,
The motion carries.
That's a new.
thank you very much. And we will now adjourn into Committee Room A for our executive session. The executive session has been completed. We're back in session in the committee of the whole. Is there any miscellaneous business? Hearing none, the committee of the whole is adjourned, and we will return for the regular council meeting at 5 o'clock.